So next up is the Cone Solid tool, which is this one. As you can see, we have the standard points and other axes from which to work. And we have orthogonal, which in this case should be on. And we can set specific radiuses for the top radius, base, and we can set the height too. We'll leave those off and simply data point for all those different parameters. So zipping onto the screen, I'll just data point and drag. And I need the top rotation. So the first data point is for the base of the cone. I'm just simply dragging as usual. Data point. And now we move upwards. At this point, I can either data point to provide a sharp point to the top of the cone, or I can drag sideways. I'm just going to data point right now, which sets the cone like that. And let's do a shading. Looks like that. If, on the other hand, I start the tool again and do the same thing, there's my base, there's my height, data point, and now I drag sideways. Now I have a truncated cone. Now the same thing works, of course, in any orientation. So let's start this again. Let's change the orientation to say that. Drag in this direction. And there's my cone in that direction. So compass orientation is the key. So all of that's pretty straightforward. So let's up the stakes a little bit here. Let's move over to the side here. I'm going to put a couple of cylinders on the screen. We'll do it this way. Here's my base of cylinder. This is cylinder. I'm going to draw another one smaller. There, that will do nicely. Let's get these two cylinders aligned. So I'm going to move center of the back end to the center of the center there. O key, put the compass there, change the orientation and drag my cylinder in that direction. So now I have them nicely aligned. Let's go and check with a rotation and see if they are. Yes, nicely aligned by centers. Okay. What I want to do now is put a cone between these two cylinders. And that's obviously fairly straightforward. So we'll start the cone tool. I'll leave orthogonal on, which I need right now. Base of the cone will be here. Change the compass. Let's find a snap point. So there's my base. Top of the cone is progressing outwards. I can snap to the center of that circle and drag it out to a snap point. And there we have a cylinder between two cylinders. However, let's undo that. And I'm going to change things a little bit here. Let's now select that and move it. And I want the top of this cylinder aligned with the top of that cylinder. O key, put the compass there, change direction, and I'm going to drag down in this direction here. So now we have an offset. And let's see how much of an offset we actually have. There we go. It's lined up nicely with the top of the large cylinder. Now things change a little bit here. I can't use exactly the same method that I just used. And that's because ortho is on. And that would force the point of the compass to be directly above the base, which is not so in this case. But it goes beyond that. I actually have to change the snap points for the top end of the cone. So what I'm going to do, something a little unusual for me, and which is to put in some construction lines. Let's go up and find the top. Now that's very interesting. You see, as I'm coming up vertically, and let's change that compass again. And this is going to be a construction line, as I said. Now, watch very carefully here. I want to find the top quadrant of this circle. But look what happens. If I press enter to lock myself to the vertical, the actual quadrant is off to the side. It's actually there. It's not where you would think it would be at the top of the circle. Sometimes when you place a cylinder like this, or even a circle, it's not completely aligned with the axes, which is a little strange. But it does happen, and it might throw you off if you don't notice it. So what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to use the nearest shortcut and snap it just to the circle. It's not where the quadrant is. There's the quadrant there. There's the other quadrant on the other side. Little odd, but not to worry. Let's do the same thing. Let's start from here this time. Find the center of this one. Do exactly the same thing. Enter and nearest. And I'm going to lock to that corner. And then I'm going to drag across and pick up that. Now that's just a convenience for me. That's all. Didn't actually have to do this, but I want to show you how this works. So let's start the cone tool again. Orthogonal's off because it won't be orthogonal. So base first. I'll leave the green color on so that it will explain what's happening. So now I'm going to find that point there. That's my base. Now I'm going to come across and find the truncated part of the top. But if I select the center, which is there, it won't actually work for me. What I have to do is go to this corner here. I need an intersection, so I'm going to turn my multi-snap on, which has intersection in it. Snap to that point, then drag down to my center, there, and data point, and that actually works. Let me shade this for you. Now, like I say, this is a little unusual, and you have to do it this way for it to work properly. If you like, on your own, repeat this cone, but don't snap to that point first. Snap to the center first and see what happens. You'll find you can't place this truncated circle in alignment with the cylinder. Now, also technically, you don't actually need this line, since that has nothing to do with it at all. It's merely this point and this point that you're interested in. So try that and see if you can duplicate that. And watch out for a cylinder which is not strictly aligned with the compass alignment. It doesn't always happen, but it does sometimes, and you have to be aware of it. You can also do a similar exercise where you take this one and this one. We'll make a copy of that. And now you offset this one even more. So move this one now down somewhere like that, completely off the axis of this, and see if you can get a cone to fit between those 2 points. AccuDraw will want to use the plane of the compass to place most of the snap points if it can, but you're going off the axis in several cases here. And that most definitely requires that you turn orthogonal off as a minimum, and you might even want to turn AccuDraw off too, if you discover you're having extreme difficulties snapping 2 points.